coming up on this edition of Circle Back.
Knowing ball isn't knowing the rotation of your favorite team. It isn't knowing who gets the third down carries. Obviously, that stuff can have value and it can have use. But if you're talking about actually knowing ball, knowing the impact of what different things are going to happen, I think that has a substantially larger impact than people actually give credence to in sports betting.
Well, why did the guy only bet $1,500, right? Kind of another self-owned by posting his bet amounts.
Like, you see this so much, it almost like it just rolls off me now because there's so many idiots that would do something like this.
Disclaimer: the content presented in this show is intended for entertainment purposes only. All opinions expressed are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of any individuals or organizations mentioned. Statements made about public figures or entities are based on publicly available information and are not intended to harm or defame any person or business. This show relies on fair use of social media posts, which are presented in good faith for the purpose of commentary and criticism. Viewers and listeners are advised to form their own opinions. Welcome to Circle Back here on the Circles Off channel. It's part of the Hammer Betting Network, and it's presented, as always, by Kalshi. This is the show, you know it, where we cover the latest and greatest that comes from gambling Twitter. A lot of hot takes feature on today's episode. We're going to be discussing whether these hot takes are actually valid or whether they are really bad takes that you should completely ignore. And we have the normal crew for your Friday edition of Circle Back here in the AM. Thank you so much for tuning in with us here today. I'm your host in Circle Back. My name is Jacob Gramegna. I'm a producer and creator for the Hammer Betting Network. Down in the bottom left corner of the screen, we have Mike, aka Mr. Peanutbettor. Bottom right corner, we have Joey Knish, co-host on Hit the Books, which is our college football channel here at the Hammer Betting Network. And in the top right corner of the screen, we have Storm Pig once again. Not going to be clicking around for this episode. Have no fear. We're going to resolve the issue. We'll be nice and quiet today. Storm, how you doing? Thanks for joining us today.
Not too bad, guys. Hopefully feedback is a little better on this episode.
Yes, absolutely. For you, for yours, and for my sake as well as producer, I'll be doing a better job for this one. But before we get started, I wouldn't be doing my job as producer and host without saying, hey, if you enjoy the episode along the way, please make sure you do hit that like button. Also, for Circle Back content every Friday, 8 a.m., just like this, and our live show Monday, 1 p.m., along with bonus content on Wednesdays at 1. You got to be subscribed to Circles Off channel. Keep driving us upward in this content space. But without further ado, let's jump into the very first topic on the show today, which comes from Todd Furman, who says there is not a direct correlation between knowing sports and being a winning sports bettor. Understanding math is actually a way more valuable skill set if your goal is to win long term. There was a little bit of pushback that came from the community as a whole. Goated Gambler 77, so they personally don't think this is true at all. The real issue is that 99% of people think they know sports but don't. Your ball knowledge has to be top 1% to use it correctly. So Todd Furman fires back saying, so knowing sports is more important than math to be a successful sports bettor? More people had their takes in this one. We have Statsational, who said, I've won a lot of money on sports I know little about, but the average sports bettor wants to hear why Team A will beat Team B by someone who knows everything there is to know about every player and coach involved, saying that knowing ball provides better content rather than just saying, I have the numbers that would suggest I'm going to win more often than the market would think. We had Corby, who chimed in. He features on our Hammer Daily channel on Mondays, talking about the college sports space, says math greater than knowing ball debate. My 2 cents. If your ball knowledge is better than the market, you're a ball knower and bet your opinion. But if your ball knowledge is weaker than the entire market, then bet with math, go steam chase. And finally, Kirk Evans, who's you see all over the Hammer Bet Network, including on this channel, our Monday Circle Backs. If you believe this, it sadly means you just don't know ball. I want to go to you first, Mike, because I saw you involved in this conversation. What's your take on the math versus ball knowledge debate?
What this to me comes down to is what people mean when they say knowing ball. Knowing ball isn't knowing the rotation of your favorite team. It isn't knowing who gets the third down carries, in certain situations. Obviously, that stuff can have value and it can have use. But if you're talking about actually knowing ball, knowing the impact of what different things are going to happen, I think that has a substantially larger impact than people actually, give credence to in sports betting. A lot of the stuff I do in my model is pretty basic math. Now, if you want to say, hey, you have to have some math involved, I would agree with that. I don't think that you can simply just subjectively look at, whatever's happening in the game and matchups and be able to beat the predicting line. But when you're talking about if you want to build out a model that's able to beat to project different things, whether it's NBA player props, whether it's, NBA straights, whether it's college football, NFL, what you're really kind of getting down to is what matters the most in the sport, what impacts winning, kind of the base roots of the sport, the first principles of the sport. So a lot of people, to me, get confused with ball knowledge is not, knowing back to the, it's not knowing simple facts about each team involved. What ball knowledge is actually understanding the different impacts of different parts of the game and kind of how that impacts the score at large or impacts whatever you're betting. So depends by what you mean by ball knowledge. But to me, this is just a simple misunderstanding of what it really means to quote unquote know ball.
All right. Interesting answer. Knish, you want to weigh in on this?
I've moved for some guys who aren't quantitative, like quants whatsoever. Just have a general understanding of, what you would call like price sensitivity. And I moved for some people that, we would call don't know ball, that are just strictly quantitative. I think the best people have somewhat of a mix of, you may consume a lot of the sport. You may know the intricacies of a lot of the sport. You might have information of a lot of the sport, but also mix that with a quantitative side of, you have some modeling capacity in that sense. So you can do it either way. I think the best people that do it have elements of both or work in groups where that you have one guy who's more informational at that, maybe one guy who's more quantitative, or the group of people. So I think probably it leaned towards, if you're just, the quantitative math side of things, that's probably more important than the ball knowledge. Sure. But I think there's more than one way to skin a cat, and a number of ways you can do it. So, I wouldn't say. With that said, though, it does make for, if we come on, hit the books every week, and BP was just like, I make this 3, and I said I make this 6, and that was it, you wouldn't have a lot of views. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of people. In terms of content consumability, you have to have the ball knowledge, the narrative street, those type of things, or nobody's going to listen. Nobody wants to come in, Rufus has come on. I've heard him we've talked off air with some of he would come on one of the shows that I would do on You Better You Bet. He would kind of say his number, that'd be it. And that's why it's does anybody really want to hear that? So I think from a content standpoint, yes, you got to have it. From just betting, number of ways to do it.
I mean, normally I'd agree with you, but we have Flup on our Tuesday Best Bet show on the Forward Progress channel, just giving out basically top-down plays, and he ended up losing 9 in a row, but people still come in to watch. So, I mean, maybe that's not the case. Maybe people do want to hear about stuff like, Flup the top-downer on the shows.
People enjoy seeing Flup lose, too, so don't discount that.
That's true. Maybe that's helping with the viewership. Storm, over to you on this topic. What's your say?
We're back to the Spanky Andrew Luck debate this week again. I see. There's most successful. Let's put it this way: that top echelon of guys betting sports are going to be good at betting. They're not going to be good at math. They're not going to be ball knowers. They're going to be good at scaling, networking, finding accounts. They'll find the people that know ball or the people that are good at math, but it's just it's one of those debates where you're spinning your tires in the mud, and we're back to the multiple ways to skin a cat. Speaking from personal experience, obviously, if you're going to ask me if I had to pick one or the other, I would say knowing ball is probably a little better. And in the past 5 years, the only thing I've bothered originating is spring training, right? And, I would have pitchers the night before that were available, some of the traveling roster guys. And then before, I forget the guy's name over at Circa, who ruined the market for everybody basically because they were just as good as we were at this. But essentially ball knowing, the second a lineup was released, you would know, okay, this is where the line, relatively should be directionally. When you have such a short window to bet something, you're not going to sit there and say, oh, this is my fair number for the game, right? You're going to see the lineup for one or both teams, and your ball knowledge essentially is going to say, hey, this is the right side here, and you're just going to go and bet it. So if I had to pick one, it would be ball knowledge. But it's just, again, it's one of those things where everybody could make it work in their own way. And Todd is, I don't know what Todd does at this point, but he's clearly just like, going for engagement at this point. And this is one of those conversations that always seems to pull people out for engagement.
Yeah, I see what he's saying, because even the people who do have outstanding ball knowledge, there is an element of math to knowing where, like, to knowing the price is correct for the wager that you want to make. But for me, it's kind of like, I always picture this as like a bell curve, where at the start of the bell curve at the bottom, you have the people who think that you need to know sports in order to win at sports betting. Then there's like the middle, the top of the bell curve, where you get to, well, actually, you don't need to know anything about sports. You just need to know the math side of it. Then you get to like the upper echelon of bettors near the bottom of the other side of the bell curve, who, once again, now knowing sports becomes a lot more relevant. And it kind of to what Storm is saying as well. When you only have a certain amount of time to make a wager, you don't have time to run them all. You don't have time to run a simulation potentially. So you do need to have that ball knowledge with you. So it definitely goes both ways. Mike, what do you want to say here?
I just think when you're building these models, at the end of the day, you're building them based off of knowledge about the sport. So that's, to me, like, if you're talking like Bill James, does Bill James do anything in all his, like, we're talking back in the day, obviously. I don't know what Bill James is doing now, but like when he was thinking of these theories, he didn't have these, advanced math concepts. Everything that in this, his beginning of Saber Revolution was pretty basic stuff. What he understood was actually the core principles of the sport and what was important to winning. So I think that, like, when people think ball knowledge, they think it's these facts that you have to memorize about each team and knowing every little detail of the roster, when the truth is ball knowledge is actually understanding what happens in the sport and kind of understanding it at a deeper level than just running back number 2 gets 35 carries this season, yada, yada.
And I think what a lot of people are also saying is just like you're saying as well, is like people think they have ball knowledge, but they don't quite understand what truly impacts winning or truly impacts some of the wagers that they're placing. Like the knowledge is in the wrong spaces. So I think once you get to that other end of the bell curve, as I was describing, you know how to eliminate your biases and the certain things that don't factor in to the market that currently exists. So interesting conversation overall. Would love to hear any thoughts and opinions in the comments down below on the math versus ball knowledge debate. And, on these shows, we like to feature comments. So get something good down below. Before we progress into our next topic, we're going to flip it over to Joey Knish. Tell us more about Hit the Books, Joey.
Don't miss this show. The best college football show in the business. Monday, Friday, Saturday. Joey K and the godfather of CFB, Brad Powers, coming to you live 3 days a week. Plus, and the Saturday halftime show. Can't wait for the college football playoff conference championship weekend and all we got coming up. Join us this Friday, baby. 5:00, as always, live. Be there. We'll see you for the show.
Yep, so that's tonight at 5 p.m. Eastern time for people watching on Friday, but they're Monday and Fridays at 5 p.m. Is it 1:30 or so on Saturdays for the halftime show, Knish?
Yeah.
And then in particular, Black Friday, November 28th, they're going to be doing a special show at 11 a.m. rather than 5 p.m. as a result of the Thanksgiving period. So keep that in mind.
Unlike a lot of people at this company that take Thanksgiving off for 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be there Black Friday. As soon as you're getting home from the all-night shopping, come turn on Hit the Books. And you might say, whoa, the Hammer's doing a show within 3 weeks
on Black Friday.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Do you know what we're not doing next week? It's this show, because we're giving the Americans Thanksgiving off. So here it is early. There's going to be no circle back next Friday because we record Thursday nights and it's Thanksgiving, and we're going to be nice. And Knish doesn't want to work through Thanksgiving, unlike he roasted all of us for in Canada when we had our Thanksgiving in October. So no show next week. There it is. But
notice you just called it Thanksgiving, not United States Thanksgiving, because it's the real Thanksgiving. Yeah. So you know that it's just referred to as Thanksgiving.
Sure. Well, I'll let you have that one. I don't care for this debate right now, but let's keep the show moving. We go into our next topic, which is on the conversations of prediction markets and regulated markets in the space. And the Polymarket CEO actually went at the regulated sports books by suggesting that they're a scam. Jessica Wellman, who does reporting on the sports betting space, wrote an article about it saying, suggesting the regulated sports betting system is shady and corrupt and the end product is a scam is certainly a choice. I'll read off a direct quote from the Polymarket CEO who said, if you look at all 4 of those products, they're all identical. None of them innovate. They all rip off the customer. Respectfully, you can only trade against the house. They can ban you if you make money, and they can profile you as a user and change the prices based on you. That's a scam. In traditional finance, that's like a bucket shop. It's a scam. Those are illegal. Captain Jack Andrews weighed in. He's featured a lot on our Life of a Capper series here on the Circles Off channel. Very well versed in the sports betting space. He says, he's right. Minus 110 is a scam on consumers who don't understand math. SGP is a scam for those who don't understand correlation. Limiting bettors is a scam on bettors who think they'll be allowed to win. He probably should add state regulators are the biggest scam artists. They line their products with the blood of their constituents. So really attacking the regulated space. We've had a lot of conversations like this, but Knish, we'll open with you on this one. How do you feel about it? Is it a scam? Do you feel like it's a scam the way regulated sports books are run?
I'm not going to say, I wouldn't go that in terms of it's a scam. That's kind of been the classical, like you go back in the annals of sports betting. That's kind of just the way it's always been. So to say it's a regulated, minus 110, before all of the regulated sports books in this country were around, what was the standard line you would get it about? It's minus 110. So I agree with you that we're getting to a point in the market, or the point in just the general evolution of sports betting, where there's a bunch of opportunities where you don't have to pay minus 110 anymore, including as our partner at Kalshi and a number of books out there like prediction markets and peer-to-peer trading and all that, where if you're that price sensitive or you wanted it, you're not going to have to pay it. But will that, I guess the question, which maybe I can refer back to the panel here, would be, do you think there will be an adjustment of pricing at the regulated books due to pressure from the prediction market books or any of that? Do we think that places come off of minus 110 as the standard in the industry?
No, I think they're going to go in the other direction. If they start losing business, we're going to get the same suits that just say, look, we did the Vegas conversation a couple of weeks ago. Oh, business is struggling. Let's increase the prices, right? I think it's going to have an adverse effect. I don't think anybody's really smart enough to say, hey, let's go to 08 and we're going to crush it, right? And then look at the whole Circa conversation, right? Everybody, listen, they do a good job. They're great, but for years we had people on Twitter arguing, oh, they're going for the sharp bookmaker model. They're going to take over. They're going to have bigger market share. People care about pricing. It hasn't really been the case. Nobody's really been oh, go play at Circa over everywhere else just because they're dealing 08 or they have lower holds in their futures markets or something. The average consumer doesn't really care. And I think, the average suit in a boardroom, if they say, hey, we're making less money this quarter, what is their response going to be? Okay, let's make the guys pay more. Also, I pretty sure that, at least look at Illinois, the best thing that Captain Jack said was the biggest scammers are the state regulators here. They keep increasing the tax rates, and that kind of puts the book between a rock and a hard place. How could you operate a business and just continuously have your tax rate rise and keep your prices the same? It's a lose-lose situation for everybody involved, basically.
Mike, do you want to weigh in on this topic?
I do like that he said respectfully, as he calls the entire business a scam. He says it respectfully. You guys are all scamming the public. I would push back on the minus 110 as a scam. I mean, to me, that's a small price to play for adverse selection. And then also I would go with when he says SGP is a scam for those who don't understand correlation. Well, then understand correlation. I mean, that's not the book's problem in order to do that. So I don't think that either of those two things are a scam. I will say also for the book, sounding like forget Sportsbook Simp Kirk. We got Rob now as the new one that kind of usurped him on last one. But I would say, not to stick up for him too much, but they are getting just taxed through the nose. They're paying more taxes than everybody else gets to come in prediction markets with a lower tax rate, and then they're getting yelled at for overcharging the customers. I would kind of push back if I were them and say, hey, we're paying a higher tax rate than everyone. Yes, we have to pay, yes, we are charging more for some of our prices, but we are getting taxed through the nose. Like, of course, we're going to have to charge more. So I don't think that they're necessarily, I mean, there are plenty of things that the books are doing that is, scammy, but I don't think kind of the pushbacks here are that fair. And I would say to call it a scam is a little bit, too much. As we start the winning thing, we can talk about that. That's, a topic maybe for another day. It's been talked about endlessly on the show. But yeah, I understand his perspective, but I do like that he's coming at it respectfully.
Yeah. And he's also, promoting the product that they have, a prediction market. So maybe going a bit aggressively, get some more clicks, get some more eyes on it, and maybe sway some people to jump ship and go to the prediction market space. The only time I really feel like regulated sportsbook, but this is kind of the case for a lot of sportsbooks, the only time I feel it's a scam is when a regulated sportsbook promotes winning as a selling point. Like, you can win big, you can do whatever on the sportsbook, and then they limit winners very aggressively. And we'll touch on that a little bit later on in the show. That's the only time I feel like it's a bit scam. But the way it's been promoted these days, it's we don't see that as often anymore. But the -110 on each side, it's the price of business. They have to run a business. They're providing you the opportunities to wager, unless you win too much. But they can't just offer 50-50 on each side. But prediction markets can offer you 50-50 on each side in a lot of those equations. They can offer you +100 on each side. They don't have to go to the big route like this. That's why we're probably presented by Kalshi. And if you want to get involved in prediction market, because there are some advantages to betting in the prediction market space, like we've talked about, better prices can be available. You can sign up to Kalshi with the links in the description or the QR code that is on screen right now. Once again, thank you so much, Kalshi, for supporting this show. You can support the show as well by getting involved through our link, and you can get maybe some great lines that you can't get anywhere else. Now, we're going to stay in the prediction market space because the next conversation comes from Dustin Gooker, who posted, in case you missed it last night, DraftKings and FanDuel are leaving the American Gaming Association as they move into prediction markets. And then also mentioned, I would read this more as the AGA and the biggest sports books are not aligned on prediction markets. Then DraftKings and FanDuel are now besties with Kalshi and Polymarket. So we talked a little bit about this last week, so I don't want to kind of re-exhaust the kind of conversation that we had last week. But I do want to kind of ask here, do we feel like more sports books are going to take this route? More sports books, are going to go towards the prediction market space and follow these giants in the space of DraftKings and FanDuel? Let's start with Storm on this one. What do you think?
Yeah, the easiest answer here is Texas, California, Florida. That's mainly what these guys are going after. Here's the market share there, because that's such a huge percentage of the population that they can't offer their traditional sportsbook services to. Gauker has really been crushing it lately. He's kind of been the embodiment of the worst person made a great point meme. He's doing a really good job covering this stuff, and his point here is saying that they're not aligned on prediction markets, rather than they fully agree with Kalshi and Polymarket. I just think it's one of those situations where they kind of waited a little too long, saw that somebody else came into the space, exploited a loophole, and they were like, you know what, it's not too late for us to join in on the fun here. So it really just comes down to those three states. If I had to guess, I'm not 100% knowledgeable on this, but that's where the money is, right? Those three states.
What do you think on this one, Mike?
Dog's a little bit upset at somebody going by with a scooter, so I'll have to remind him.
Maybe let's go to Knish first. Let's go to Knish. We'll come back to you, Mike.
I'll say I don't really think, maybe I'll put it like this. I'm not sure the weight of the American Gaming Association had in kind of its current institute. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it even a little bit further. If I think they had some weight, I don't think this whole tax thing that they were kind of silent on, they're like, so to me, just from an AGA standpoint, I don't really know how much power or anything that body of work really has anymore. So whether they're in it, whether they're not, I don't think so. And I agree. They're trying to doing their spin-off prediction market things here with both of those. Don't blame them. But just in general, I don't really think the American Gaming Association has a lot of juice anymore. I'll put it like that.
And over to you, Mike. We're good. We're good now.
We're good.
There you go.
As Storm said, California, Texas, Florida. California is a pretty big market. For those who are unaware, they have a pretty large GDP in that state, and I think that all these sports books are sick of kind of allowing that to cede to someone else. In the time since we prepped this slide and kind of the past few hours, Fanatics actually is also joining the prediction market space.
Oh, interesting.
So, I think that also this is a sign of probably two companies that have been pretty on top of it from the beginning. They did the DFS stuff. They're not going to let somebody come in and take without adapting. So I think that these sports books are pretty smart to be adapting to the times rather than trying to they try to box the prediction markets out as long as they could. To me, this is a pretty clear sign that they said, we can't box them out anymore. We might as well join the race. So I think that it's probably a good sign, honestly, for all prediction markets that they're even joining. You can say that it's tougher competition, but I think it just legally it shows it's a pretty good, canary in the coal mine that they think that this is going to last for a while and they're, committed to it long term.
So to answer my question from the start, will more sportsbook follow? The answer, I guess, is yes, because Fanatics is also kind of jumping on this as well. So I imagine if that's the case, more and more are soon to follow. So really something interesting to monitor. But we talked about DraftKings with this segment. They are a main feature of this next segment as well. Matthew Berry, who does sports analysis and sports content he's done it for various networks in the past. He quote tweeted a tweet from Connor Allen, which is featured on the Monday show. And I recommend checking out that segment from the Monday show and the entire Monday show where we talked about it. But in short, he was upset that Caesars had voided an under longest field goal bet that he had in the Giants-Packers game because there was no field goals attempted at all in the game. And other sportsbooks were grading it as a win. He was upset that Caesars voided it. So to promote DraftKings, Matthew Berry, as part of his network that's sponsored by DraftKings, he promotes them and he says, on DraftKings, this bet is explicitly stated on the bet slip and in their house rules. Connor, come play at DK. And definitely this tweet did not have the effect that he was hoping it would have. Maybe we can go to Knish first on this one. Why do you think that was the case? I don't have I don't know why he was just putting DK on this as the I don't know. It's a little bit ironic in terms of explicitly come play at DK for anybody that plays there. Also, I know Connor Allen, my guy. I kind of maybe I'm sick in the head. I kind of enjoy when some of these things happen. This reminded me of a plus EV analytics when he was going head to head with Caesars. And there's a part of me that I don't know why. I just I don't know. I find it entertaining. Caesars is sticking it to him. So sorry for old CA that he's getting a little bit under, but I don't know. Another thing makes for great content. Mike, why do you think this one did not land the way Matthew Berry thought on this one?
This is an ultimate case of you got to, dog food the product that you're supporting, and you got to be able to understand that either, Matthew might not be using DK as much as he thinks, or maybe those bets he's giving out on NBC aren't quite as good as everybody kind of thinks they're. I think that this is the ultimate backfire of whenever books do this and they're like, hey, come play here instead to a sharp better, it almost always is going to get thrown right back in their face. Actually, I can't because of blah, blah, blah. So I think that, this is a tough look for Matthew that either he's not using the app or maybe, those bets that he's giving out on NBC 30 minutes before kick might not be quite as profitable as you think there.
So I think you covered it pretty well there, but Storm, do you want to add anything for this segment?
I'm just curious what the limit is on a fresh DraftKings account for the field goal over under.
Yeah. I don't imagine Connor's going to get much down on a market like that. Never mind a fresh account on this one. A longest field goal in the game under on DraftKings. Yeah, I feel like that's not going to satisfy the appetite for Connor Allen or for a lot of people who would see this tweet after Connor Allen's post. So yeah, interesting there. Anything else there? Are we good to move on? All right. Well, we're ready to move then. Let's hear about the newsletter we have at the Hammer Betting Network. Not sure if you guys are aware yet, but we have an incredible 3 times a week newsletter here at the Hammer. Mondays, you get latest injury reports, takeaways from the NFL, early leans, and NHL discussion from Alex Moretto. Wednesdays, you get the first practice report from every team. Betstamp gives out plus EV props, and much more. For Fridays, we have Kirk's Hammer. He usually writes about things he's observed as a pro bettor, things in the industry, and things that have helped him get better. You can subscribe right now at thehammer.bet or by scanning the QR code that's on screen now for the video or by heading to the link in the description at any point to never miss out on a newsletter. Keeping it moving on the show, we're going to stick to a DraftKings kind of post here because Trevor Lacey's burner at Wolfpack Sports posted something that had a lot of people laughing. He posted a parlay that was VCU at NC State, and it was NC State minus 9.5 on the alt spread and 7 being the largest lead of the game. He said, "I'm so fried. I deadass placed a bet that cannot hit. I thought I found the free money glitch." Couple reactions from the space. Sergeant Blackout at Cold Call Sniper said, "The bigger story here should be why DraftKings would let you bet something that you literally can't win." And Plus EV Analytics, who Knish just mentioned, said, "It's grotesque, but I can't look away." So that was kind of my first thought as well. The first tweet here being, it's interesting that they would even allow that to happen. Do you feel like there's a problem there, Mike? Or do you think that's more of like a natural selection type of thing where if you're dumb enough to place the bet, then it's kind of your fault?
So I believe, at least in Nevada, they have an obligation to not allow you to make a bet that cannot win. I think that allowing futures bets, for example, on people who are mathematically eliminated is illegal in the state. My guess is that this is probably just a glitch in DK. I have to kind of how I want to phrase this. I have placed bets that would normally not be possible, that were in certain situations, and DK has told me that that wasn't allowed because the bet is not, like, the bet can't win, essentially, is what they told me. And in when I was trying to place it or when I was putting it in the bet ticker. So my guess is they tried to limit someone and they didn't want this bet to go through, and it just was a glitch and there was a mistake on their end. I don't think that they intentionally are allowing people to place bets that they can't win with.
Okay, Knish, anything to add on this one? Have you ever placed a bet accidentally that cannot win?
You know, I can't think of a scenario. I do agree it's more like prevalent in futures pools, as PB was saying, to like take people out that can't win. In this scenario, I mean, they're like, come on. I mean, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I love that you're like, I mean, the guy just like smoked himself and made a bet that like, look, so to me, I don't know. This one, I think it's fine. Like, DK's probably in their defense in this realm. It's like, you put it like, how stupid can you? This isn't like we left somebody in the futures pool that, you know, it like exited the event or something. This is like you had to click a number of things to put together how stupid this is.
And over to you, Storm. Do you think DraftKings would have voided this, like as kind of Mike maybe is alluding to, or do you think this would have just been kept and it would be a loss?
I'm curious to know, right? I'll take a little bit of a different approach here. When there's a scenario where a book free rolls a customer, right? You know, where they void one side, I always want to know, okay, well, did you void the other side, right? You know, if you voided a bunch of winning tickets, did you void the guys that lost? And a lot of times they'll collect on the losers and, you know, pay on the winners. Not speaking strictly legals here, just, you know, based on my history of sports betting. So in a situation like this, it is kind of disgusting that you can even place it. And I'm sure it is, you know, a software glitch. It doesn't really seem predatory, but I would like to know, okay, somebody in DraftKings trading, how many bets since you guys launched sports betting have you accepted like this? Have you voided the bets? Have you returned the money to the customers to place bets that they couldn't win on? I wish it was one of those things where we figured out the conclusion of the story. I wonder if Wolfpack Sports, if you message him and you're like, hey, did they void that and return your money? I'm curious what they would say. So it's one of those things where you don't have the full picture, but I would love to see the full picture of, did they handle this fairly, where both sides were treated correctly rather than just free rolling somebody on one side of something.
So I went into his account right now. He actually did update the story and say they did void the leg, which I think was the right thing to do. Makes me think if there was a glitch, was there something that was exploitable within this, or was it just only on the negative side of things here?
That's the type of thinking you gotta have, Jacob.
Yeah.
How can you cheat? How can you, rig this to your advantage?
If there's something like this which isn't being used correctly on SGPs, there may be something else within the same market that isn't being correctly identified in the SGP market, which maybe maybe I should have maybe that's the first thing I should have noticed when I saw something like that. But they did void it. At least they did the right thing there.
I'm super curious, if you go back to day one of DraftKings launching in New Jersey or whatever, how many bets have they accepted and how much money have they made in a situation like this where they didn't void, where they essentially just robbed somebody?
Yeah, I would imagine it's happened. It's probably happened. I don't know for sure, but I would think that's happened where somebody made a bet that can't win. What you don't think so, Mike?
The guy shoots a shot at the buzzer here, and they're up 7. Time expires. They end up winning by 9. Does the bet then win?
The largest.
Oh yeah, that was the thing we missed. There replies to this tweet were some of the worst tweets you'll ever see regarding sports betting. Like guys that were trying to say that the bet could actually win, and then people arguing back and forth. And it was basically people trying to argue 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. It was crazy.
Yeah, I don't think if the score is different when the game ends, which it would have been if there was a buzzer beater 3, it still counts towards the game. If a 3 goes in after the buzzer on a buzzer beater, that still count towards any bet. So wouldn't apply there. Makes me think about there was a soccer game once where the final whistle went and then they reviewed a play, then had to bring all the players back for a penalty, and then the player scored. Bruno Fernandes for United scored after the game had ended and they had to restart the game, and Man United won. I wonder if anybody tried to get into some customer service on some sports books to debate that one. I imagine some people did and just ended up complaining. Anyways, we can progress with the show. We're into the reading your comments section on the show. This is where we like to feature some of our favorite comments from the previous week. While you're down there, if you want to comment something for next week's show, or actually it won't be next week's show, in 2 weeks, don't worry, we'll come back. Comment something down below while you're down there. Hit the like button. Helps drive us up in the YouTube algorithm. Only takes you a second to do. Make sure you're subscribed as well. If you're listening in audio form, consider rating and reviewing 5 stars to keep helping Circle Back grow even further. First one, and there's only 2 comments I wanted to feature for today. First one comes from Brendany7043, says, I'm not sure how it'll work, but one huge advantage of DraftKings and FanDuel could have in the prediction market would be if they can integrate your balance and account. So this is something I believe that they are going to have. They're going to have a separate app for their prediction market, at least for DraftKings. And I believe I've looked into it, and that your account balance will remain from your sportsbook account towards your prediction market account. I think it's similar to how it works for casino apps that are linked to your account as well. And I do believe that that gives them an upper hand. But going through the rest of the comment, many people will try out the prediction market. They don't have to create a new account and deposit funds. I think that gave them a step up at launch of the sportsbook because people already had DFS accounts. Storm, do you feel like this is a major advantage DraftKings and FanDuel have here?
100% agree. That might be the best comment anybody's ever left on a Hammer video. It's intelligent. It's clear. It makes complete sense. You see it, if you accidentally click into DraftKings and you click over to the race book or the daily fantasy, your balance, I believe, shows between everything. Huge leg up. One thing I'm curious about, it's just it's never clear. Okay, so say you're in New York and they don't have prediction markets here and you have $50K in your account and you go to LA for the weekend. Can you just pull up your DraftKings and you have the same $50K available there because they now have prediction markets there? It's one of those things where how were we supposed to know? I guess you don't really know until they launch it. And also, like, who makes the rules here? Who's allowed to do these things? Who isn't? And do they treat everybody the same way? I guess we don't really know until we get there.
It's actually a good question. Mike or Knish, what do you think? If you were in New York and then you went to LA, would you have access to that when you wouldn't in New York?
So I know that in Ohio, at least, the daily fantasy, the DFS part used to be separate from the sportsbook side. I know because I one time went out and bought $5,000 worth of gift cards to deposit into the sportsbook app. I bought this at an Ohio store. I go to deposit, and they say, actually, you know what? In Ohio, you can't deposit via gift card. I said, well, I didn't want to tell the person, I have $5,000 worth of these gift cards. So I was like, what do you mean you can't? They said, well, you can only deposit into the daily fantasy site if you're in the state of Ohio. But let me, for your problems, give you a $10 free promo card. So I got $10 in free promos, $5,000 I couldn't use, and had to drive over to the state next to me so I could go deposit them into the sports book.
Is that where you got that Ohio State sweater as well?
Yeah. So I had it was a real pain in the ass to deal with. So I don't know how much the prediction markets are going to be separate, how they're going to do it. I'm sure there's probably weird rules by state, like the example before. So I'm sure it will be super complicated, not make a lot of sense, and be an administrative nightmare on the back end.
Well, we talked about this on Monday, and this comment was made before that. On the Monday show, we talked about Kalshi partnering up with Prize Picks for something similar, where if you log into Prize Picks, you'll now have access to Kalshi markets, and your Prize Picks balance will already exist in the account. So maybe that's a pretty good way to combat it. But just taking away the barrier of entry and making a new account, which you could do simply with the link in the description, but taking away that barrier to entry makes it easier for people to get involved with prediction markets. And I think it's a smart way to go about the business. Knish, anything to add?
I agree with Storm. Like, that comment was like mind blown. Like, oh yeah, like that. The easiest way would just be to shuffle. I don't know if that'll be, again, you said there might be some legal stuff depending on what state you're in, but when you have all of the market share in regulated books, if you can just kind of shift those balances over to take that, to me, is like way more of a strategy than we're going to try and kind of like pump up and create our own brand in the market space, where it can just be like, oh, you want to do prediction markets? Boom, just like blah, 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 blah. You move your money over. So this guy should be in Brendan should be, working for FanDuel at the top.
Second comment to feature is from Levi Keller 7916, says top down bettors are the coupon seniors of sports gambling. And there was another very negative comment towards top down bettors that I didn't feature, but as the representation for top down bettors, now that Fluff has gone on the show, all the money's the same. I mean, all the money's green, whether or not you're getting it from top down betting or originating. It's kind of just like shoveling in a shit goal in the NHL, where you get just a dirty rebound. That's what it feels like. They all count the same as, dangling through a couple of guys and putting it top corner. Do you see it the same way, Mike?
No, they're the thieves of this sport, or this industry that we've chosen. Watching the board, scraping by. That's why when we talk about who knows ball and stuff, there's one person you can quickly cross off the list, and that's Flupp. So I, of course, not top down bettors. All money isn't the same. There's no reason to lie to the people. It feels better to have money that's originated not via top down couponing.
Feels better, but it's all the same. I mean, I'd feel better for scoring a really nice goal versus a shit goal, but I mean, they still count the same. Knish, what's your thought on this comment?
I mean, when I think coupons, you think cheap, but there's people doing top down that are like making real serious money, like a lot of them. So, well, I don't mind the dig, and I mean, as someone that dabbled in top down himself, I don't mind the dig, but the coupon comp, I can't get there, because there's some people that know that that got the whole coupon book from top down betting. So
I think it's like the coupon comparison is just like the people that are
the promo
ways of the grind. What's that?
I think the promo chasers are the real coupon people.
Great. Yes.
Because those people are grinding out the smallest, $1,000 here, $1,000 there, and God bless them.
I like that. I like that comparison a bit more. But Storm, over to you. Final thoughts on this comment?
think it's a skill issue comment, kind of like a telling on yourself sort of thing. The best college basketball bettor in the world couldn't, back to ball knowing, couldn't tell you the name of a single player, but if you speak to anybody that originates college basketball, they'll know this guy. And, he basically back ends everybody. He's handicapping the handicappers. He's top down betting. And you'll have people complain that guy is so good at manipulating the screen that he'll get a better number on my own game than I can actually get when I bet it. So trying to say that a top down bettor is a coupon senior is definitely not it. Definitely a skill issue sort of thing if you think that.
Okay.
I do want to say to Storm's point, I think when people now think top down, they think steam chasers, and top down betting is obviously so much bigger than that and so much more impressive than that if you're actually good at top down betting. The screen stealing kind of those guys, like if you're, odds jam clicking, whatever, there's a ceiling on that. When you're talking top down, like actually good at top down, it's calling steam chasers top down bettors is almost a disrespect to those guys.
Okay. Good point. Final main topic on the show today. I've dubbed it a self-report because that's pretty much what it seems to be from Slightly Plus EV, who we've featured on the show consistently. Seems to be somebody who can win at betting, but maybe reveals a little bit too much information with this tweet saying, FanDuel let me bet these while Dallas was kneeling. Called it out on the live stream, and it's some Las Vegas spread numbers at plus 17.5. That won because Dallas were kneeling at the clock and the game was finishing. But also featured within all of the bets here are the wager amounts and the bet ID. And it feels like this is just sending out a signal and a beacon to FanDuel to come and take a look here. Storm, is that what you got out of this tweet as well?
Well, why did the guy only bet $1,500, right? Kind of another self-owned by posting his bet amounts. I won't mince words here. Court siding on the legals has been awful this football season. A lot of it is because of people like this tweeting stuff, too many people getting into it, people not being smart about trying to preserve an edge and bet it wisely. So it's just frustrating to see stuff like this. When people tell on themselves, go to the sports books, help them fix their flaws, that you only hurt everybody. And if you look closely at the tickets, one was bet at 11:08, one was bet at 11:09. This was certainly up, for at least a minute there. And all you're doing is anybody else who went and, bet this on a really good account, say somebody bet it for 30, 40, 50K or whatever, and you put this out there, and, these traders aren't stupid at these books. This might come across their desk and they're just going to go in and death limit every single account that bet this now.
All right. So not only ruining for yourself, but potentially for others as well. Knish, what's your thought on this one?
Yeah, you know what? I used to get a little there's just so many reasons out there now that it's hard to really even this used to fire me up a few years ago, but it's so frequent now. You see this so much, it almost it just rolls off me now because there's so many idiots that would do something like this where oh, look what I did it on the stream. I told everybody on the stream, and then everybody on the stream gets limited, and maybe this guy doesn't get limited because he's such a fish that his account's down so much that he doesn't get limited. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing good that if you're going to execute a courtside, a pass post, or any of that stuff, the last thing you want to do, the last thing is, one, bring it up on a live stream, and two, tweet the tickets with your bet ID in them. This is next level.
And not even max bet it.
Right. And I'm it's like he realized then a minute later that wait, I should bet more on this because it's such a it didn't even click to him the first time.
There's actually a third bet you guys are missing, which doesn't have all the information, but there was 3 separate bets that were made here.
Yeah, this is the parlay of Slightly Plus EV is I guarantee negative in the fucking dirt EV because this is so stupid.
So
Tell us how you really feel.
this guy posts pretty often on Twitter, and it's my understanding he's a winning bettor with extremely limited accounts and is doing this. And for the love of God, someone get this guy a fresh goddamn FanDuel so he can stop doing this. Not that I would ever suggest anyone P2 or multi-account, but can somebody just pull this kid aside and say, listen, here is a different way for you to do this and not tweet it out to the world. So I think this guy has like pretty good stuff reasonably well, but just for some reason his intent on tweeting it to the world instead of making money off of it like a normal person. I mean, I don't know. I think that this guy is the definition of somebody needs to help him scale to get him off Twitter so he can, use his time and, let's say, resources more efficiently.
All right. Maybe some words to the wise. Final thing we do on the show is the chopping block. Of all the content we've done so far is the main piece of content. We'll call the chopping block the dessert, the smaller pieces at the end of the show. And to open the chopping block, we had the return of Foes in Poker to LeBron James, 10 plus points, because LeBron James finally returned and made his NBA debut this season. He said, if you're going to give me LeBron 10 points, I'm taking it for the max. I don't care. Quote unquote, risking 9,700 to profit just under 1,000. Thanks for the free cash. There were some other people that followed it up, like SGP_parlay, who said, the good old Twitter where you can see people flexing their minus 1,000 bet that cashed. Seems to be a direct shot at Fozen. Fozen showed a screenshot of the same user posting in a DM that they were celebrating their minus 750 win. So SGP Parlay said, I didn't know sending a private DM was the same as posting it to all of my followers, which led to a little bit of a back and forth. And Fozen said, you did it to run a fake giveaway. Just take your L because they posted. LeBron scores 15 plus points tonight. I will give away $1,000 US. Shout out to Fozen Poker for the idea. Money glitch. And then to finalize, Fozen said, use the trend to run fake giveaway and give me credit. Now, last of Fozen saying he can't dunk on the people that were making fun of him and his dumb bet. Fozen's back, it seems. And we've interviewed him on Circles Off. I highly recommend going to check out that video we did about a month ago now. But you enjoy this return, Mr. Peanutbettor, Mike?
Yeah, Fozen's the best. He's the one person, him and Redacted Gambler are the two people I look up to the most on Twitter. He comes in, he owns Flup, he bets a shit ton on a LeBron bet that at this point, I think he pretty clearly knows isn't even plus EV anymore. He just does it in order to kind of get laughs in. So that's exactly how Twitter should be run without giving a care in the world about the seriousness of it. So A+ on all accounts.
All right, Knish, and you're a fan?
No. God damn it.
Mr. Responsible Gaming Knish here is worried about their funds.
Out of here. No, I'm not a fan. More so just because we like to give each other shit on Twitter. So I'll put it like this. I love rooting against him. This is like the blue horseshoe on steroids. This Fozen, like I'm like whenever he posts something, the annoying thing though, man, and probably because LeBron was off the injury, but like he was doing it got so popular when he was doing this stupid shit last year. They started posting LeBron 10 plus at like minus 5,000 and stuff like this. Then it resets and now it's back to like minus 750. And so the guy's back on his shit again. So hopefully it's shortly, or just please, bro. Like I've been a LeBron stan my entire life. Maybe somebody in a circle can be like, "Yo, Bron, just finish with 8 tonight, please."
So by the way, to enhance this discussion, LeBron did get 10 points. He had not a great game. He finished with 11 points. The bet that SGP Parlay made was actually 15 plus points, which he did not hit, which was a losing bet. So Fozen made with a little bit of a sweat on that one. If anybody, I mean, everyone should know at this point, LeBron has never had a game with less than 10 points, or it's either that or there's a streak that's going back to like 2005. Do you think, Storm, do you think we'll ever have a LeBron game where he doesn't reach 10 points?
I mean, everybody's just betting on like, an injury at this point, like an early game injury. I don't even think most people are treating this as like, this is plus EV or this is minus EV. I think most people are turning it into content at this point, as we can see here. So I love Fozen like turning this into a like gambling Twitter's moment of like this where like, you'll see like the girls that'll like a guy will comment like you're ugly, and then they'll post like some outrageously horny DM that the guy sent them in private. And this is like the betting version of it. So it's just awesome.
But just to confirm, LeBron, I think the streak is at least 1,300 games now. Since January 6, 2007, he has scored at least 10 points in every game. Hence why Bozen makes these bets. And I mean, we've talked about it extensively. Part of the head, as much as he knows it's a minus EV bet, part of any handicap for this would be they know about this streak. And I think LeBron would have to, I think his legs would have to fall off for him to not like go down getting 10 plus points. Even if he's hurt, he's getting his 10 plus points. I think that's how I feel about it. Anyways, next one, 2 more on the chopping block. We have Kev at NBA with Kev. Says, biggest thing I've noticed this season with NBA is books putting role player lines up the night before as opposed to either morning of or sometimes within an hour of tip, making it a bit tougher for someone who bets only within half hour of tip. So have to adjust a few things, but as is the theme this year, majority of bets been good, just finding ways to lose. And it's a quote tweet to their own tweet that says, whole lot of betting this year has been testing to say the least, and it's showcasing not a great amount of profit so far on the season. So it seems to me like there's a solution here, but Mike, do you echo any of these sentiments? Do you have a solution for NBA with Kev? What do you think?
I would say that, if you are running into situations where your straight wagers like that aren't going as well or are kind of getting eaten up before you can get to them, I would try to expand into SGPs, different areas where maybe you can either, if they're putting these lines up ahead of time, you can kind of use that to benefit you in different ways with SGPs or kind of in different areas. So maybe first of all, I would say he's returning 4.5% only an hour before tip. Isn't really that bad. I mean, maybe I'm telling on myself there for not being able to get monster returns back on straight bets. But straight bets, half an hour before tip, 4.5%. I don't know. I think that if you are running into areas where you're kind of bumping against the limits of what's available, then try to expand into different and newer markets would be my, guidance or whatever.
So I don't know if this is just a case of like he's betting right before tip just because he's trying to eliminate getting as much CLV, trying to kind of wear off the scent of being winning better. So I don't know if that's the case. I mean, I would say like if that's not the case, then obviously just bet earlier. So I don't know what the motivation here is.
A lot of times those role players are kind of the best spots to bet is they put them like right before game if they open them up because it looks like it's right before the game and you still are getting fresh lines. When they put them up like beforehand, like he's talking about, they'll actually get bet into place and they're much, much more efficient. So, I don't think that when the role players are released like an hour before tip, I don't think that they close as efficiently as when they open up much earlier.
Knish, any thoughts from you?
Nope.
How about you, Storm?
Seems that NBA with Kev is having his first moment of realizing that markets get more efficient over time. In the golden days of props, Knish, remember when you could bet 100 NFL props on a Sunday and then legals started posting them? Legals started posting them on, Monday, Tuesday, and things got harder. So adapt and overcome, basically.
All right. And final thing on the show for today. This is one that it was Mike who voted the yes on this one, so I'll kind of leave it for you. But you enjoy the Ben Simmons parody that exists on Kalshi. I don't know, maybe you've crossed on some bets with this user, but there's somebody who's role playing as Ben Simmons. Greg Ehrenberg says there's a guy in Kalshi who's up to 1.6 million in profits and has a hilarious Ben Simmons parody profile. This guy rules. I'm sure you've seen this profile and you like it, Mike.
Yeah, I just think commitment to any bet. To have randomly that you're going to be Ben Simmons and to have him, be atop the leaderboard really just cracks me up. The fact that it just says, I can't shoot threes. He's not giving in to the fact that Ben Simmons hasn't played basketball really in like meaningful way in 3 years. He doesn't care. He's going to stick with the bet and really commitment to any bet I respect. So I respect this guy, just going with Ben Simmons for whatever reason and sticking with it.
Maybe you should have stuck to the true Mr. Peanutbettor, the BoJack Horseman character with the persona. Who's this Mike guy that we see on our screen?
Never should have shown my face on camera.
I'm sure there are people who genuinely believe that's the case who maybe have appeared on this show. I'm not sure. You guys let us know. But that'll do it for the show today. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into this edition of Circle Back. Reminder, for the Friday crew, we are going to be off next week because we're going to give the Americans the Thanksgiving off. They like to clown us in Canada for taking Thanksgiving off, but they're going to get it off as well. So no show next Friday. But typically, we have Circle Back every Monday at 1 p.m. with our live show and Friday, 8 p.m. with the show you see right now. On Wednesdays, we do bonus content at 1 p.m. Eastern time, so plenty of content to keep entertained. Subscribe to Circles Off on YouTube, rate and review 5 stars in podcast form. And as always, we'll see you again next time.